You want to see an example of the Slack Inov Split method of connecting multiple highlines together? Check it out on this episode of How Not to Highline. Hi, I'm Ryan Jenks and welcome to the park, where you're supposed to test every bad idea before you go up high and risk your life with it. Today I'm here with TJ Gillick and Cam Peters. And you know they do say not to rig with cams, but I found he's an alright guy. It's a rigging joke. Anyways, we're going to show you how to set up the Slack Inov Split the way I have found so far to be the best way to connect two highlines together. If these are all exactly 50 meters in length, and you just connect what you need until you have what you need for your specific highline. This way, you're not buying huge pieces, at least all at once, and you can connect your friends' pieces. And the most important thing is if a main breaks, you're not taking a huge backup fall. It only breaks in that one section because everything's interconnected. So of course you don't get to stand in the middle of space and do this on a highline. You do this at home before you flake it into the bag. But anyways, you go through one side, you go through the middle, and then you put it in the other loop. And if you're worried about this opening, there are several ways to do locked versions of this. You can splice a cord in there, you can splice a cord in here that pulls it, you can tape it, and taping is generally my preferred method. But you want to put the button knot underneath the sew-in loop so it's nice and smooth. So then you have the sew-in loops from the backup. Now if these are also exactly 50 meters long, you will want to extend one side. Now these are only two pieces, and I have a web lock over there and I have a web lock over there, so technically I would not need an extension. In order to do this, you put the loop through there, and this is how you girth hitch, by putting it through that eye, and it eliminates one connector by girth hitching this. We're going to do some more brake tests on this to show that this is safe enough. And this Dyneema cord here is 6 millimeters, and it is super strong, stronger than almost any webbing you're going to put this on. So this is now our new connection. Now that we've extended this, by the way, can be anywhere from 3 to 5 meters long. Slack Inov sells those different lengths. If I wanted it shorter, I would just do half a length and run this U-shape through the loop. Anyways, so this is what I'm using. Now, I put that through there, put this through there, and we're not going to have to tie this fancy. We're not going to have to crisscross it in any way. We just have to go up one side of the X and up the other side of this X. And you'll want to, because this won't be under tension, this is the one, if you are worried about things opening, this is the one you should be worried about. And I'm just going to tape it right there. I'm going to tape this right here, and then you put the button knot right there so everything passes nicely. And then I'm going to tape the crap out of this right there. So I don't have climbing tape or electric tape with me. I have duct tape because I forgot the other stuff. I prefer the others. Climbing tape is pretty nice, but duct tape fixes everything. So it's plenty fine. That is not going to come undone with any amount of wiggling, and that's not going to come off the head if that's taped. So I just have to make sure it stays inside of this loop so it doesn't make it difficult for the rings to pass over. And this one as well. So just make sure the strands are being pulled even. Maybe duct tape is pretty good. If I put enough on, it would almost be considered as a padded soft shackle, which I highly recommend. I just never do it because it's not necessary. But if it makes you feel better. Okay, so you can see here, that's the underneath side, that's that. The problem with taping everything is you can't inspect it. So more or less, do your shit right at the beginning and always go second. Yeah, I kind of like the duct tape. All right. Good thing we showed you how we set this up before we put tape on it. Because you can't tell what the hell's going on here. So now we have control over our backups, and I've got the extender here, And if for some reason your extender's too long, you're in the field and you want to adjust it, you could technically just take some tape and make it a little bit shorter if you're looking for just the perfect amount of loops, if it's wrapping around too much, or whatever you want. But you can make these at home and make them whatever length you want. You can adjust things. That's the problem with a extender that is sewing loops on a short piece of webbing. Not a lot of adjustment there, and then you got to go get them made. This is a lot easier just to splice. So on a big high line, it's nice to Z-drag your webbing before it goes to the other side, so you're not holding the whole weight. And you can use the hangover, and it'll work its way over all of this without much of a hitch. Anything you have here, any quick link, anything, you kind of want to just take your weight off the thing real quick, and you can keep sliding. So this isn't too much of a logistical problem with a hangover for either sliding or Z-dragging. So let's test the Vortex from Slack Inov to see how well it slides over that. And of course, this is how you tie in to a leash when you free solo a park line. So the no-fall zone is between here and the tree over there. So let's do this. I like how it feels with like having tubular webbing and spider silk, which are complete opposites. It doesn't feel weird at all. And when I step on this, it doesn't feel, I can feel the button knot, but it doesn't feel like slippery or anything. And because the leash isn't very secure in my pocket, I just grab it and pull it over. Pretty smooth. So let's check some other rings, shall we? That was scary. Here we go. Okay, so let's evaluate these rings real quick. You got the Vortex ring, which is, I believe, 65 millimeters inside, give or take. And then the bomber ring, which I don't like the bomber ring because you generally only use one, and I like redundancy, but you can see how much bigger that is. That's going to slide over real nicely. The problem is, well, inside rings don't go over that. You can see that the inside diameter of these normal medium steel rings, these are the most common things that we use, are pretty small. It's a little bit, it almost looks, it's a little bit smaller than the Vortex ring. So small, big, medium. So clearly we already tested this. This has no problem. That has lots of room. And this guy, that doesn't have too much of a problem either. What I'm gonna do is tie the leash to this and kind of make a really weird 3-ring circus. Get it? And we'll pull all 3 of these at the same time, and I'll have this in my pocket. This is science, guys. Come on. Here, boy. Here, boy. Come on. Come here. Here, boy. There we go. So I don't like the medium rings. But you can use titanium rings are bigger. The Inov ring's bigger. And then Pure Slacklines has a ring that has rubber that goes around it that comes out soon as well. And my foot could have got caught in that loop, so never try that. I'm never gonna try that again either. Okay, so I pulled the backups manually tight. They're not tensioned whatsoever, but we're going to release the tension on the main line to find out what happens when one of the backups, so this main is going to fail because we're loosening it. That main stays in place. This main and this backup should be pulling when we're done. All right, DJ, release it. So I have slack in the main line right now. Of course, I'd have to sit on this, but you can see this is 50 meters long, this the whole thing right here, and you can see how far you would drop if the main line were to fail just on half of this line. I don't want to do 100-meter lines that don't have some way of protecting a much further fall. Even a 50-meter backup falls quite a bit. Okay, we do want to simulate not simulate. We actually want to like cut the main on a high line, maybe a heavy bag or something, and see what really interacts here and how the tape affects it. But the backup is holding. Let's see here. This is the main going that way. So the backup is holding all the force. You can see it right here. And you can see this is crisscrossed and pulled tight by the soft shackle. The backup, this is the backup. Backup and the backup are still interconnected. The main and the backup are the things holding all the force right now, are these two things. But if this were to fail too, for whatever reason, or the red soft shackle were to fail, then we're still connected here. So I feel pretty good about this, even though it's pulling on that soft shackle that way. We've done quite a few tests on Slack Snap, and that does not matter. This button knot has stayed put. This tape is really secure, and so is this, to keep the soft shackle from opening accidentally. There's not a lot of movement going on with all that tape on there, even if it was jiggling. What I do like about having these smaller sections is when it was all coiled up around each other, I was just able to pull and fix half the slack line instead of like 500 meters of twists and tangles. So we're going to brake test this configuration, the way it crisscrosses over each other, two soft shackles pulling in an odd way, something a little different than normal. And we're going to make that another episode. We're going to test this on this, and we're also going to test the extenders in this girth hitch method on the backup, because I really like not having any quick links in there, and I bet you this connection here is stronger than a quick link would be anyways. Warning: having backup loops to simulate a highline in the park is a double-edged sword. It's kind of nice to be able to get used to what that feels like, to have a leash in your pocket, to feel what it's like to have a ring sliding with you. It's nice not to be surprised when you're being scared shitless on your first highline. That experience is probably going to be a rare moment for you, and you don't want to waste time learning something you could have learned in the park. I advocate learning this stuff in the park, practicing, mounting, chongoing, everything in the park that you can. Be very, very careful with the leash though. You really want it to fall off of you if you're going to fall off the slack line. You don't want to go head first into the ground. But the other side of that double-edged sword is if this backup gets caught and your foot gets caught right here and then you fall, it'll flip you upside down, you'll hit your head. I find long lining to be quite a bit more dangerous than high lining. High lining usually has greater consequences. Long lining has more immediate, long-lasting issues with spraining your legs, your knees, your arms, your head, your whatever. A lot of injuries come from long lining, and trick lining. So high lining is not safe, inherently safe, but if you learn how to fall correctly, you're less likely to get injured than if you were to do like something over 100 meters in a park. I never slackline over 100 meters in the park. I just can't fall that aggressively or that uncontrollably if I were to try to do 200 meters in a park. That's just, I'd rather do it up high anyways. It's a little nicer when things are loose and you're just not like guitar string tight. So food for thought if you're going to try to simulate anything you've seen here today. You might sprain your ankle slacklining, but if this goes wrong when you're highlining, you're going to die. Therefore, you shouldn't highline.